Join discord.gg/flat earth and enter a VC check-in room, and someone will come along to VC verify you to get involved with the conversation about our Earth.
Michael's Flat Earth tag interview seemed to be LARPing.
Yeah, hey Michael, welcome, dude. How are you?
Thanks. I'm okay. How are you?
Good, man. Good, man. Well, you want to step up and get to your blues, huh? You want to get your Flat Earth roll?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm just curious, when was like the first time you heard the words flat Earth? What year could you attribute that to? For me, it was 2017. What about you?
Maybe 2021.
Okay, you're post Coco flat earther. Fair enough. And I see you joined the server just at the end of June here. How did you find this place?
Well, I've been in the server before. And like this is like my alt account. Now it is my main, but it used to be my alt account. On the other account, I was in the server before, like a year or two ago, and I left. I'm just rejoining.
Gotcha. What was the name on the old account, if you don't mind me asking?
I think Redpo or something like that. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, if you remember, maybe type it in the chat. We can kind of just double check on that. But in terms of questions, I do have a list here. I can kind of throw out some questions your way. And it's good that you've been here for a while, so maybe you might know some of these. But in terms of Flat Earth and Globe Earth, who has the positive claim or the burden of proof?
Globe Earth.
Yep, I would agree. I would agree with that. Have you heard of the Black Swan before?
Yeah.
Is it about the horizon or something else?
It is about testing the curvature, if it's there. Right?
Well, let me re-ask the question, make sure you follow along. But the question is it about the horizon or something else?
The horizon?
Yeah, it is about the horizon. And if you have any questions about that, you can ask us about that. We can kind of go into more detail. Are you familiar with the scientific method?
Yeah.
Is there more than one scientific method?
No, just one.
Okay. Very good. Let's see. Are you familiar with the any of the claimed sizes of the globe, either radius, circumference, diameter? Are you familiar with any of those numbers?
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head.
I'm sorry, you cut out there for me just a little bit. You do, or you don't, or you do?
Oh, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head.
Okay, no problem. That's just curious. What about like something like the distance to the sun?
Oh, that's like 93 million, I think.
Yep. What about maybe the distance to the? Yeah, 93. I think is the correct made-up answer that they just chose. But but what about say distance to the moon? Are you familiar with those numbers by any chance?
Probably in the thousands. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think that's about 250,000, roughly. I think it's about 230,000, if I'm not mistaken, 240,000.
Yeah, something like
Maybe
that.
I can double check that. But yeah, about 250,000 miles. Okay, very good. What is gravity?
In the globe Earth is like a force that pulls you and makes objects spherical.
Cool. So, are you familiar with how many types of gravity there is?
As far as I know, it's just one.
Okay. Have you heard of Newtonian gravity?
No.
What you just described is Newtonian gravity, mass attracting mass. They're claiming it's a force. So they have Newtonian gravity, the mass attracting mass, and they also have Einstein's bending and warping of space-time. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had like
so that's a good
definitions.
Well, a lot of Globers also don't know this as well. It's good to know this because you can ask them and say, "Hey, how many gravities are there or whatever, and they'll go, oh, just Earth's gravity, and it kind of shows they don't really fully understand the Newtonian physics and Einstein's model. So it's good for you to know that as well. All right. Well, that's a lot of the questions I went through. Does anybody else in the panel have questions for Michael here?
Nah, man, I'm ready to jump him into the gang. Let's go.
Hey, let's go. Let's go. Thanks, guys.
It's blood in, blood out, though, dog. So, you know, after the Randy situation, there will be formal contracts that need to be signed. So, you know, just a heads up.
Yeah, honestly, the next Glober that comes in, you're up. So
that's right.
No, but you guys don't have any questions? Anybody? Russ, Quetz, Flatman, Jim? Any questions for Michael?
I think you established a pretty good baseline knowledge. I do want to definitely give him the role, but I got flat out asked to provide 3 proofs and explain them in detail.
For Flat Earth?
Yeah. Could you name 3?
The black swan, no curvature, the Antarctica Treaty.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably ask for should have asked for geometric proofs, or I wouldn't really count the treaty.
I mean, it just makes it look sus.
Yeah, but they don't. I wouldn't really put that out into the conversation. They'll kind of that'll derail the whole point of the convo, proving curvature, the rotation, and the vacuum of space. So basically,
is impossible or eclipse?
I would keep it away from space too.
Yeah. I think the Selenelian eclipse is a little bit more advanced for when they start saying, "What about the sky?"
Yeah, your best bet is to stick closer to the ground, like Russ is saying. So once you start getting up into the sky, you're in Glober territory.
Yeah, you are. You are.
That's true, because the globe model was derived from the sky. So all the measurements and things will always return in their favor. So you have to be aware of that getting into it. Well, of that, like, once you start understanding that these are coordinate system transformations, basically, then once you understand that, you can kind of hold your ground a little better on the sky situation. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead and continue.
No, I agree. That was a good addition there. All right. Well, I kind of want to piggyback off what Russ was saying. Let's go into 3 things, and then maybe you could detail a little bit. So you said black swan and no curvature. Honestly, that's kind of one. But I'll give you. We can do both, I guess. So, what is your understanding of the black swan? Let's go through that just a little bit.
So I think the black swan is like when the ships go over the curvature, but you can actually zoom in, and it doesn't go actually over the curvature. It's just angular. So it's just going out of your view because it's too far to see. You can do that with a simple test, like you can put markers and put another marker far away. It will look like it's going down on a flatter surface.
Okay. I mean, you're right. The black swan is something a little bit more specific. I'm going to post an image. You probably have seen it. It might jog your memory. So let me just post this in the chat real quick. But what you just described is true. Yeah. You definitely have seen it before.
Michael, have you pulled up the Earth curve calculator yet? Or
No.
any of them? Yeah, that's this is basically trying to prove, they're trying to claim a geometric horizon. They'll be at a certain distance, and the actually I'll let CB, I don't want to interrupt. I'll let you take it where you're gonna. So.
No, you're good, brother. You're good. I'm just getting these screenshots for our friend here.
So yeah, Michael, they're claiming that it's a geometric horizon that's going to be at a specific distance. The oil rigs are at specific distances, like 6 and 9 miles roughly, just as demarcation points, just to show that the horizon's clearly beyond that. If you type in the observer height and the distance to, well, if you type in the observer height, it'll give you distance to the supposed geometric horizon, which is at 1 foot observer height, 1.225 1.225 miles. You can clearly see the horizons beyond the boats, the rigs rather, say at least 10 miles. So that right there disproves their claim of a geometric horizon.
Yeah, that's my point too. You shouldn't be able to see it.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, yeah, that's like one of the biggest proofs that does it for me. But I'm also researching flat Earth, so yeah.
I'm going to drop you a link to QE's proofs. The sextant in celestial navigation is also another really good one. He breaks it down. Know anything about that? You recall hearing people talk about it? Drop you a link and go through it whenever you have time, Michael.
Okay. Which channel? Is this a live stream voice text?
Yeah, I'll drop it in live stream. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
Thanks.
7 proofs, and what I did was just kind of went through each one of them several times to make sure I had a good understanding of everything. Like I said, they're broken down really, really simply and concisely.
Hey, CB, if I'm not robot Earth,
Please, yeah, go ahead, Dave. Glad to hear from you.
my mic's actually working.
Sounds good. Yep.
Wow. Well, who we talked to, Michael? You said you've been looking at this for a couple of years. I just want to know, is there any question, any little nagging shred of doubt that may think you're incorrect about this, and it might actually be a spinning ball? Is there anything that's like a nagging doubt in your mind? Go ahead.
The flight path, those kind of confuse me how it works. Also, the star trails. So, like, for the star trails one, when you're looking to, when you're on the southern hemisphere, how are you able to see the same type of star, the Southern Cross, whichever way you're facing?
Well, my first response when my mic's working, and I'll let somebody else answer it properly, but things in the sky, can we really measure those and test them and make sure we know exactly what's going on in the sky? Somebody else answer it properly now. Go ahead.
1 second. Yeah, so yeah, so there's Shane has a really good presentation on the Southern Star, or quote unquote rotation, right? So what's going on is that they're anti-corpuscular rays.
Horizons beyond the oil rigs are at specific distances, like 6 and 9 miles roughly, just as demarcation points, just to show that the horizon's clearly beyond that. If you type in the observer height and the distance to, well, if you type in the observer height, it'll give you distance to the supposed geometric horizon, which is at 1 foot observer height, 1.225 miles. You can clearly see the horizons beyond the boats, the rigs rather, say at least 10 miles. So that right there disproves their claim of a geometric horizon.
Yeah, that's my point too. You shouldn't be able to see it.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, yeah, that's like one of the biggest proofs that does it for me. But I'm also researching flat Earth, so yeah.
I'm going to drop you a link to QE's proofs. The sextant in celestial navigation is also another really good one. He breaks it down. Know anything about that? You recall hearing people talk about it? Drop you a link and go through it whenever you have time, Michael.
Okay. Which channel? Is this a live stream voice text?
Yeah, I'll drop it in live stream. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like
Thanks.
7 proofs, and what I did was just kind of went through each one of them several times to make sure I had a good understanding of everything. Like I said, they're broken down really, really simply and concisely.
Hey, CB, if I'm not roboting, I got one question for the next flat Earth.
Please, yeah, go ahead, Dave. Glad to hear from you.
My mic's actually working.
Sounds good. Yep.
Wow. Well, who we talking to, Michael? You said you've been looking at this for a couple of years. I just want to know, is there any question, any little nagging shred of doubt that may think you're incorrect about this, that it might actually be a spinning ball? Is there anything that's like a nagging doubt in your mind? Go ahead.
The flight path, those kind of confuse me how it works. Also, the star trails. So, like, for the star trails one, when you're looking to, when you're on the southern hemisphere, how are you able to see the same type of star, the Southern Cross, whichever way you're facing?
Well, my first response while my mic's working, and I'll let somebody else answer it properly, but things in the sky, can we really measure those and test them and make sure we know exactly what's going on in the sky? Somebody else answer it properly now. Go ahead.
1 second. Yeah, so yeah, so there's Shane has a really good presentation on the Southern Star, or quote unquote rotation, right? So what's going on is that they're anti-corpuscular rays, and it's a what each person is seeing is it's basically from their own perspective. So when they say like, there's no actual Southern Star trail rotation, it's relative to each person. So we think it's some sort of projection of the northern hemisphere stars out onto from being an anti-corpuscular ray. I'll link you the videos on it, but basically each person sees it in its own location. It's not like a central point, like where you're looking at the North Pole, or where you're looking at Polaris, for example. It's not the same as that. Like it changes locations relative to the observer. It's some sort of optical illusion in the southern hemisphere. I'll send you the videos on it. But that is a really good question, and that was one that that kind of always was in the back of my mind. There's so many other things that where it's like it's not like it wasn't a make or break for me, but coming to the understanding of the anti-corpuscular situation and how the Southern Star rotation isn't actually around a central point. It's relative to where the person, or to each observer that's seeing it. So there's something else going on there in terms of what's they give the surface level narrative of that it's a 1-to-1 comparison of Polaris and the northern hemisphere. It's not. So that's just that's like the long version of the explanation of it. But I'll have everything. I'll send you the links to it so you can get in, or see it for yourself, because it's easier to understand with actual demonstrations of like what the anti-corpuscular rays are and all that stuff.
Yeah. Thanks,
Michael. Michael, if you want to do a dive into something, take a dive into the fictitious Southern Pole star called Sigma Octantis. Take a dive into that. Take a dive into their supposed 24-hour sun in Antarctica, where there's hundreds, if not thousands, of proofs of that in the northern latitudes, but only five videos in the southern latitudes. And obviously, if we were on a ball, with all those United Nations countries of the Antarctic Treaty, they would have as many in the south, at least, as they have in the north. So if you want to look in, if you want to take a dive, obviously that Antarctica is closed. 30-minute video is really good. But if you want to take a dive into Sigma Octantis, that it doesn't exist, and take a dive into the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and have that as backup when you talk to your globe friends.
Okay, thank you. Also for the flight path, when you look at the flat Earth model and the globe model, I feel like the flight routes should take longer on the flat Earth model compared to the globe. So how does that work on the flat Earth model?
Now, just go ahead, CB. Go ahead.
Well, can you show me this model, Michael? Can you show me this model you're talking about?
So I was watching a Professor Dave video on this. I can link it in the
Uh-oh.
video.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's all right, man. It's all good.
I mean, yeah, I
It's
can
all
show you
good.
the mic I was using.
Yeah.
I would just have to look up the video.
Yeah, not Professor Dave has a 12-minute video and an 18-minute video that he loves to show off while we're so stupid. Anyway.
I just want to throw
Yeah,
in.
I'll be for real with you. My
Sorry, go.
the flight routes. Sorry, yeah, the flight routes isn't my favorite subject either. But like the TLDR is, they're derived from, what do they call them? Great circles. So you can make great circles on a planar disk too, same way. They would be identical. So there's that. And then in terms of distances for flight routes, right? There's what do you call it? There's the Jetstream, right? Now the public available data that we have on the speeds of these jet streams at varying altitudes only goes up to like I think 35,000 feet or something like that, 39,000 feet, and then like we're supposed to have data for higher levels than that. Actually, Globebusters did an episode where they bought the app, the premium app or whatever that all the pilots use to figure out their flight planning stuff, and they claim in the app that once you have the premium version, you'll have access to the higher Jetstream data, and all these things, and they actually don't give it to us. They cap it at like 30 something thousand feet for publicly available data. So anyway, how the distances could be shorter and times could be made up for is basically when the plane's en route, it just goes to a different altitude, catches a jet stream, that speed is added to their how fast they're traveling, and it's not going to break the sound barrier or do anything weird. And actually, the people in the plane wouldn't even know if the sound barrier was broken. So if they're flying over an ocean, doing this, it would be really hard. It would be impossible for the people in the plane to know like how fast they're going, and how long. So
Just remember, Michael, a couple centuries ago, these maps that we referenced today were called charts. They were estimations. So just remember, they are estimations. A map or a model. I have a model of Santa Claus, and I could use mathematical formulas to make him come alive, but that doesn't make sure he's going to come alive. But when somebody throws a model at you, it's a model. Now, if you want to believe in a model, marry one and enjoy the rest of your life with one. But the model demonstrates absolutely nothing. So just be careful when people start throwing maps and models at you. Second point is that airplanes will fly land location to land location, 3 degrees, nose up. If you want to believe in a map, then you can look at Santiago, Chile to Sydney, Australia, and when they stop, when they happen to have a stopover, they stop over in L.A. or Dallas, Fort Worth. They do that for a reason, because land location to land location allows them to do it, and that is going into their supposed globe, northern hemisphere. But on our supposed map, if you want to believe a map, it is land location to land location, and it works perfectly. Now, do they use great circle routes? You could theoretically use a great circle route from Santiago, Chile to Sydney, Australia, or back. You could theoretically use that and stay in the South Pacific Ocean only if you wanted to use jet streams or whatever you want to use. But there's no evidence they do that. There's no evidence. Now, you could do it, but there's no evidence that that they do. So you need to go back to what they do. Land location to land location, 3 degrees. Some people say 2 to 3 degrees nose up. Land location, land location. That's what they do. Now, Great Circle Route is possible. Is it used? I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows. But the only reason they would use it is for the jet stream.
Okay.
Oh, and the last point. I am so sorry. The last point. is that there is so much more land in the northern latitudes on a stationary plane than there is on the southern latitudes. 90% of people live on the northern latitudes, 10% live in the southern latitudes. That's one of the problems with having somebody tell you in Australia what's happening, because there's so few people that can collaborate it. There are more reference points. There's more land by which you can derive your location from in the northern latitudes than there is the southern latitudes. So if somebody tells you they can derive their location flying over these mass sums of water in the southern latitudes, they're trying to sell you a bridge too that you can't afford. And so you just got to remember who you're talking to. Here's another great point that Alan sent me that I think he got as well from somebody else. He dropped it in my eDrive the other day. Is that there is information of what GPS covers in the world as far as we believe land location, not satellites in space. They don't cover the vast areas of the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. They don't cover that stuff because nobody's there. So when a Glober comes and tells you, I use my GPS, global positioning satellite, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, they can't prove that squat. They can say it, but they can't prove it. So a lot of these people are going to say, well, I saw Sigma Octantis, and it's the southern pole star. No, you didn't. You can say it, but you can't prove it. Well, I got navigation out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. No, you didn't. You can say it, but you can't prove it. Guys, I can say that I'm 8 foot tall behind my camera, my camera on, and I can speak it all I want to, but I can't prove it. Sorry.
Nah, you're good. That was funny, though.
Are you physical?
Yeah. I tell you what. Oh, Michael.
Yeah.
This is not mine. This is Austin's. He said this, and it's somewhat what he said. I think I got most of it. I don't know if you know Austin Whitsick, but he says if you cover a lie, you have to lie. You have no choice but to lie because truth will always win. Truth will always come to the light. When you cover a lie, you put yourself in this tough situation where you have to begin to lie and use fallacious arguments and be dishonest and mislead and twist things around. And the globe is a lie.
Yeah, like to defend it. Well, that's all I got for now. Thanks for answering my questions. I'll check out the links. I'm gonna hop off. See ya, guys.
Take care. You have a great day now.
You too.
What is your profession?
See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did.